guys, it's Gretchen and welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, I want to talk a little bit about allergic reactions or just jewelry allergies to body piercing jewelry. Sometimes you may find that you have jewelry in a piercing site and it gets irritated and you're not quite sure what's going on because you're pretty sure it's not infected. It could be an allergic reaction. So one of the best parts about piercings is the time when you can change your initial jewelry to whatever it is you want. Changing your jewelry from the initial jewelry to something that you're really excited about can be a super exciting moment, but that can also be overshadowed if you have an allergic reaction to that new jewelry. Much like irritations or even infections, allergic reactions to specific kinds of jewelry can show a plethora of signs. Some of these signs are very similar to an irritation or infection, such as redness, warm to touch, swelling, even oozing, itchiness. However, with an allergic reaction, there are other signs that can kind of present themselves much like any other kind of reaction you may have. So these other types of signs are like a rash, flakiness around the site. You may even find blisters that are popping up around the piercing site. There will also be ooze coming from the site, but it's much different than like an infection ooze or a healing ooze. Count how many times I say ooze in this video. You may also start to notice that the skin essentially pulls away from the jewelry. It's allergic to it, so it's sitting there going like, I don't want to be near this, no thank you. So it starts to pull away, which is also very similar to what happens during a rejection. One sign that I've mentioned can occur during an allergic reaction is drainage or the ooze. Keep in mind that drainage of any kind or ooze of any kind is somewhat typical for even a healing piercing. You just have to know what to look for in the discharge. Ugh, I hate that word. Healing ooze is typically kind of whitish or even clear. There's not too much coming out, but you can see that there's some kind of liquidness coming from the site. Whereas with an infection, the ooze is a little bit thicker, a little bit more yellow. It's essentially more discharge, like, God, I hate that word. With an allergic reaction, the ooze is a little bit more excessive. It's producing a lot. And this is more so than if you have an infection ooze occurring. An allergic reaction one is just kind of like, bleh. I promise to stop saying ooze now. Allergic reactions to jewelry will typically show up pretty quickly after you have inserted the jewelry into whatever piercing site it's going into. Much like with any other kind of allergic reaction, whether it's something like pets. If you're allergic to animals, typically if the fur or the spit or whatever enzyme gets on your skin, you may notice a rash forming. Same with any kind of food allergy. You may notice that your throat closes up or that you get a stopped up nose. If you notice, usually these allergic reactions happen relatively quickly after whatever the source of the allergy touches your skin, enters your body. You notice that the signs start pretty fast. Same with an allergic reaction to body jewelry. If you put it into the piercing site and then all of a sudden you start noticing some itching, some burning, some redness occurring more so than normal. You may notice those blisters starting to pop up. Basically, you're gonna develop a rash. So to tell the difference between whether it's just infected or if your body's just mad at it or if you actually have an allergic reaction, typically allergic reactions happen pretty instant. Something to also keep in mind when it comes to determining whether or not you're allergic to the jewelry that you've put into your body is to make sure that you're not just having an allergic reaction to the aftercare, because that can also be the case. You may be allergic to the prepackaged saline solutions such as Neomed or H2 Ocean. You may have made your own and maybe you made it too strong and your body's reacting to the loads of salt and drying it out. So you want to make sure that the actual allergic reaction you may be experiencing is coming from the jewelry itself and not so much the aftercare. Regular aftercare will not be able to treat an allergic reaction. You're gonna need something a little bit more medical grade in order to clear that up. Now that we kind of know what an allergic reaction is, what causes it? So an allergic reaction when it comes to body jewelry typically revolves around how much nickel is in the jewelry. Nickel is probably one of the most common metals out there, known to man, accessible to us, which is why a lot of people are allergic to it. It is so commonly used that it's one of the most common allergies. The more your body is exposed to something, the more likely you are to become allergic to it, which is pretty messed up in a way. So if you are using a lot of nickel for your jewelry, the more that you're using it, the higher chance you have of an allergy to it. Same with any other kind of metal, which is unfortunate. However, you may notice the word hypoallergenic show up at some point when it comes to body jewelry. What exactly is hypoallergenic? This refers to lower levels of allergens that are present within metals. This is not to say that anything labeled hypoallergenic won't cause an allergic reaction, but the chance is much lower than jewelry that may not have the title of hypoallergenic. Now that we know that nickel is pretty much the cause of almost all allergic reactions when it comes to body jewelry, what can you use in your piercings without running a risk of nickel being present? So the first one is surgical stainless steel. Surgical stainless steel is probably, I don't know, one of the most commonly used metals when it comes to initial body jewelry. Whenever a piercer does something, typically surgical stainless steel is going to be the first metal that they go for, unless you specify otherwise. Keep in mind that with surgical stainless steel, there may be still enough nickel present within it that it can cause an allergic reaction, which is why I, whenever I get a brand new piercing, do not go for surgical stainless steel, because I know I'm allergic to it, or at the very least my body is just like, I don't like this. So the next one that I always recommend personally is titanium. Titanium, unfortunately, is typically the most expensive metal, but it has the lowest chance of contributing to an allergic reaction because there's pretty much no nickel in it whatsoever. It is the hardest as well as the highest grade metal. If there's nickel in there, then it most likely isn't complete titanium. Another metal that can be used, though I haven't seen it as often, is niobium. Hope I pronounced that correctly, not entirely sure, but it's very similar to titanium, just a little bit denser. Glass is another metal that's really good. This is often recommended, especially for stretching lobes, because it's smooth, it's lightweight typically, and it's not hard on whatever piercing site you're using it in, and there's no nickel present. Gold is another one that can be used. However, you must be careful with gold because gold itself isn't bad, but then there are jewelry pieces that say gold plated. You don't want gold plated. Gold plated has nickel in it. When you are looking at gold pieces of jewelry, definitely look at either 14 karat or 18 karat. Yes, that makes it more expensive, but that lessens the chance of there being nickel in the jewelry. Also be very careful with white gold. I know I personally love more cool toned, silver toned pieces of jewelry, and if I was gonna get gold, I would want white gold. Problem with that is in order to get that specific color of gold, nickel is most likely present. Silicone is also a pretty good option, though never for initial jewelry or healing piercings. Acrylic is also a pretty good one. Again, acrylic itself, not good for healing piercings or brand new piercings. However, bioplast is a good option. If you're going to use acrylic, use bioplast. Organic materials of any kind, so like bone, horn, even wood, these things are porous, so there's no chance of there being nickel in there. However, these are also not good options whatsoever for initial jewelry or even healing piercings. Because they are porous, they can harbor more bacteria within the jewelry, so you don't want to use that in a brand new piercing, or you don't want to use it while you're still healing one, but they're good later on. One metal that is also not always recommended is sterling silver, which it just baffles me because when I was a little kid, I always heard about how great sterling silver was. There are certain grades of sterling silver that are fine, but unfortunately because it is a soft metal, it can also harbor more bacteria, kind of like the other materials like the bone and the wood and anything that's organic. It's not necessarily porous, but it's also really soft, which means it can just kind of hold more bacteria. When it comes to picking out jewelry to avoid an allergic reaction, you may find yourself having to shell out a little bit more money to get that higher quality metal. More expensive doesn't necessarily always mean higher quality, but it is pretty standard. So like with titanium, you will find that you're spending a whole lot more money on that than you are with, say, sterling silver or even surgical stainless steel. Unfortunately, that's just how it is, and you kind of have to pick and choose. If you don't have an allergic reaction or an allergy to nickel, then you may be okay getting away with, I don't want to say lower quality metals, but not spending the most like you would with those higher quality ones. So this video isn't to scare anyone about certain types of metals, but it is to bring awareness to the fact that allergic reactions can happen. They're not as common as, say, getting an infection, but there are nickel allergies out there, and much like with any other kind of allergy or allergic reaction someone may experience, it's good to be in the know and be aware that this could potentially happen so that you could prevent it or at least care for it in case it does happen. Let me know in the comments below if you have ever dealt with an allergic reaction to jewelry in your piercings. You know, do you have a nickel allergy that you know of? Self-diagnosed or actual diagnosed? What did you experience before? What kind of symptoms did you have? What kind of jewelry do you prefer to use, especially in initial piercings? You know, that first one. What do you like to use as your initial jewelry? You know, what do you change to once it's healed? Let us know in the comments below. But that is it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a big ol' thumbs up. Go on down there and hit that subscribe button, wherever it may be, because I don't know. Even though I do, this is just my shtick now. Also hit that notification bell in case you want to know when I upload, and in case YouTube wants to let you know when I upload, because I would really appreciate it. And until next time, bye guys.